With 109 horsepower, you really move, and it's fun.
Janina is the youngest of 24 bikers setting off this morning from the German capital on an ambitious trip. They have 4,000 kilometers ahead of them. Together with Pastor Bernd Schade, they're heading south.
We're traveling to Rome. We've been planning this trip for 6 months, so it's time we got started.
Janina was only 3 years old when she started biking with her father. She got her own motorcycle when she was 18. Today she's a competent rider, but she still has respect for her powerful double-wheeler. The first stage will take them to Wittenberg, about an hour from Berlin. The group calls itself Christians and Motorcycles and organizes a trip outside of Germany each year. This time the bikers want to explore the relationship between church and state. The Castle Church in Wittenberg is a good starting point. The pilgrims from Berlin are allowed inside, even though the church is being renovated. They enter through the door where Martin Luther supposedly nailed his famous theses almost 500 years ago. The father of the Reformation attacked the lucrative trade in indulgences and the sale of church benefices. The bikers learn that the reformers initially intended only to renew the Catholic Church. However, their actions led to the division of Christianity into various confessions. 2017 is the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, and Wittenberg is gearing up for the celebration. The bikers don't have much time in Wittenberg. They need to move on to Thüringen. The next stage is to Bad Frankenhausen at the foot of the Kyffhäuser Hills. There in 1525, as part of the German Peasants' War, a revolt turned into a massacre and cost the lives of 6,000. The bikers stopped to view a monumental painting of the scene. This 213-meter panorama was painted in the 1980s. But you might easily mistake it for the work of an old master. Werner Tübke has depicted the Battle of Frankenhausen, where the peasant army, led by reformer Thomas Münzer, was defeated in 1525. It's a lot to absorb in one day, and the group still needs time to get better acquainted.
We're still getting acquainted. Some have known each other for years, and we've been on several trips together. But others are taking part for the first time, and the group needs to bond a little, find out how we each tick.
The next morning, the early risers are raring to go. Today, they have 250 kilometers to cover. Not far, actually, but Heike is still recovering from an accident yesterday. She took a tumble, her bike was damaged, and she also hurt her leg. By 10 o'clock, everyone's ready. Today, the destination is Warmensteinach in Bavaria. After a few kilometers, the pack splits into groups of 4 or 5. At 72, Gerd is the eldest. He's also the most experienced.
What's great about it? First, riding with other bikers. The bends, mountains, beautiful scenery, and enjoying the community of people.
Gerhard has often passed through this area without stopping. This time he wants to see the famous sky disk of Nebra, a bronze disk which depicts the oldest known image of the cosmos.
dass diese Goldplättchen auf der ersten Fassung, ja, alle die gleiche chemische Zusammensetzung haben.
The museum is also home to a ghost and other amusing exhibits.
Also ist das Gold nicht mit einem Mal importiert worden, sondern zu unterschiedlichen Zeiten. Das können wir nachweisen. Ja? So, nicht? Das Gold kam aus Irland, das Zinn kam aus Cornwall und das Kupfer aus.
It's midsummer, but the weather thinks otherwise. Bad news for the bikers. That evening, it becomes clear why the group planned to stop in Wammensteinach. In the village church, they encounter another kind of highway, a highway to heaven. A new day and more rain is forecast. That's a challenge even for experienced bikers like Gerd.
You have to watch out, especially in the curbs. You can't see the surface properly, and if the road has been repaired recently, there's a layer of tar on the surface that's very slippery. That can be dangerous.
Some of the bikers are more experienced than others, but the old hands keep an eye on the rookies.
I got my license in 2007 and I've had a bike since 2010. I've ridden about 26,000 kilometers on it, but this is the first time I've taken the bike out of Germany.
A photo for the guest book. The owner of this guest house has never seen so many bikers at one go. Today, the goal is to cover 350 kilometers and reach Ettal on the Austrian-German border. So there's less time for sightseeing. They don't even stop for lunch. But it would be a very long day without anything to eat. So they stop for a picnic at a previously agreed spot. Food and drink are delivered by friends in a car. They've even brought tables.
We decided to picnic because it's good for the group. It's also cheaper. Of course, we were counting on good weather, but, well, it hasn't been too bad. Just at the moment, it's wet.
Like an act of providence, the sky is clear as they reach Pfaffenwinkel. Gerhard's group makes a detour to visit the famous pilgrimage church near Steingarten. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Gerhard is Catholic and knows his way around.
Right here in the middle, you can see a red light. That's to remind us of the consecrated hosts inside.
It's the pilgrims' last night in Germany. Tomorrow they'll pass through Austria on their way to Italy. One bike is left behind at a repair shop in Garmisch. Heike had a second fall and sprained her wrist. She feels handicapped. In her leathers, it's too hot in the car, so Ralph takes her in his sidecar.
Now we'll go down the same way, but each according to his ability. It would be wrong to think you have to keep up and then take risks.
We're crossing the Alps today. We'll ride through Austria and then on to Mezzacorona. I'll admit I'm a little nervous. I'm aware of the dangers.
This is the most challenging leg of the trip. It's every biker's dream, riding over alpine passes with their treacherous, thrilling curves. The pilgrims stop briefly at the Timmersjoch border pass, 2,500 meters above sea level. Finally, they reach Italy with more hairpin turns. They're especially dangerous going downhill. The bikes weigh 330 kilos without luggage. Nobody can lift one on their own. Fortunately, it wasn't a real crash, it just tipped over.
I stopped and turned to see where the others were. And the bike rolled forward, the stand retracted, and the bike fell over.
Erhard is lucky he wasn't injured. The next day's destination, Lake Garda. And the first stop, Trento, capital of an autonomous province in Italy. The bikers have gathered in front of St. Vigilio's Basilica. Here another chapter in the development between church and state was written. Daniela first takes a stroll through the old town and takes pictures, including some of the church the group will later visit. In various sessions between 1545 and 1563, a famous church council took place here, the Council of Trent. The Emperor Charles V summoned the bishops to stem the unrest in Europe. The aim was to address the abuses pillared by the reformers and renew the Catholic Church. However, they failed to prevent the division of Christianity into Protestants and Catholics. After the history lesson and 1,200 kilometers, they reach Lake Garda and their first day of rest. Getting up to their accommodation requires some tricky maneuvers. Daniela gets a few useful tips from a fellow biker. He cautions her to take it slowly and even to stay in first gear all the way up.
So packst du es am besten und bleibst von Anfang an im ersten Gang, nicht Kupplung ziehen, in keinem Moment.
You can't stop or you'll tip over. But I made it.
At Lake Garda, Daniela is sharing a room with Nicole. The group changes roommates every day so that there's no chance of cliques forming. The women get settled and then they take in a view of the lake.
I enjoyed today's ride, taking the hairpin turns, braking and then accelerating out of them. And then the scenery and the mountains, it's really impressive. Anybody can drive fast, but these bends, taking the curves, are a real challenge. And if you don't get it quite right at first, you know there must be a better way. And when you get the second one right, your heart jumps. And you think, yeah.
It's the next morning. Heike's wrist feels better, so she's going back to Germany to collect her bike.
I came on this trip to ride my bike and to ride it myself to Rome, so I want to have my own bike.
And while Heike is picking up her motorcycle, the others enjoy a day at the lake.
This is my third time here. The first time I was on vacation with my parents and I learned to swim. That was 22 years ago. Since then, it's like coming home.
Lake Garda is the largest lake in Italy and a popular holiday destination. That evening, they prepare and eat a meal together. Pasta, of course. Heike gets back just in time for dinner. On the return trip, she took the shorter route through the Brenner Tunnel.
So sieht ein Biker aus.
Hast du mein Bein gesehen?
It may have been the quicker route, but she confesses she's still a little worn out.
Ja, ein bisschen geschafft. Vielleicht auch ein bisschen
This stage of the trip recalls Henry IV's famous walk to Canossa, 1,000 years ago. The German emperor had flouted the Pope's authority. Rome, in turn, excommunicated him. Henry walked from Germany to beg the Pope's forgiveness. They met at Canossa Castle in the northern Apennines. Before receiving the emperor, the Pope kept him waiting for 3 days, barefoot and kneeling in the snow. Pastor Bernd Schade encourages the group to think about that.
It takes effort to get to these sites. The emperor supposedly crossed the Alps on foot in winter, but we rode bikes. That requires a certain amount of energy. But we're in a group, and that provides us support. This place encourages mindfulness and reflection.
The walk to Canossa was a public humiliation by which the Pope asserted his right to appoint bishops in territories ruled by the emperor. In this, the Church triumphed over the state. Canossa is only a short distance from Bologna. The old city is one of the most beautiful in Europe, and there's a lot to see. But the bikers first give their attention to another Italian achievement. Off to Pisa. You simply have to stop on this medieval bridge. The Ponte della Maddalena is also known as the Devil's Bridge. Since Satan lost a bet here, he supposedly avoids the location. Renata likes to ride with Erhard and Gerhard. All three like to take their time and enjoy the beauty of the countryside.
We enjoy riding our bikes, but we also want to see things. We want to get to know the people and their culture. That's the main thing.
You're alone and also together. Each biker experiences it individually, sees different things. Afterwards, it's great fun to talk about the journey and ask, did you see that? Were you also anxious on the mountain? We're a community.
This is the second pilgrimage they've made together. 2 years ago, they rode to Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain on the famous St. James Way. Today's destination is Marina di Pisa. From the Emilia-Romagna, they penetrate deeper into Tuscany. Erhard and Gerhard usually ride together. The Catholic and the Protestant get on well, even in matters of faith. They both feel at home in the group Christians and Motorcycles.
On trips like this, our faith plays an important role. We like to begin each day with a prayer service. We're serious about exploring the relationship of church and state, and all our members take part. We're a group of Christians.
Today's service is held by Daniela. She mentions thoughts and little experiences she's had on the trip.
When we rode through the hills to our sacred spot, Pisa, I felt very small.
A time for reflection each morning. Then they explore the sights of the region. The tower really does lean.
Gut. Du musst jetzt weiter.
The group photos are a little different each time, since someone is always missing. On occasion, bikers separate from the pack, drive faster, or take a more ambitious route. But they all come together in the evening and talk about what they've experienced that day. After a good night's sleep, they set off on the Via Aurelia, the most direct way to the Eternal City. Their last stage is about 250 kilometers. The heat is unbearable, 40 degrees, and the engines are also hot. The bikers suffer in their leather gear, but they've almost reached their final destination, and every half hour they take a short break.
There's wind while you're riding, but you'd melt if you just stood around. So we'll take a short break, drink something, and then move on.
Also mir brennt hier oben ein bisschen die Wangen, muss ich mal sagen. Hast du kein Sonnencreme drauf? Das doch.
The final kilometers. And at last, they arrive. The traffic in Rome intimidates many bikers, but not Erhard, Gerhard, and Thomas. They ride right into the heart of the city. They've reached their goal, and today they don their red T-shirts with the dates of the pilgrimage. They've all come to St. Peter's Basilica, and today they'll complete their exploration of church and state. Building this enormous church 500 years ago strained the Vatican's finances. Pope Julius II's solution was to institute the St. Peter's Indulgence, by which the faithful could virtually buy merit for their souls. That was one of the factors that triggered the Protestant Reformation. At the end of their pilgrimage, the bikers from Berlin don't just have 2,000 kilometers under their belts, but 1,000 years of church history. Both were sometimes a bit dry and dusty. But it was fun anyway. And on the long road back to Berlin, they'll mull over their impressions of eternal Rome. Images of a very special journey.
Lasciatemi cantare, perché ne sono fiero, sono un italiano vero.